All right, all right, all right. I'm going to turn this music down. I'm going to turn this music off. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture. Yes, yes, yes. Now, I know y'all are saying, Pam, you were just live. I know this. I know I was. I know I was just live. However, I was going through the comment sections from the last two videos, this video that I did, uh, my videos, and there were a lot of comments, and I was trying to answer all the comments, and it just felt easier just to look at the comments, read them out loud here on a live, answer them, and plus I have some supplemental information that I have received, so I do want to go over that supplemental information because it's all starting to make much better sense to me and what I think is going on because and if you look on here, if you can see, y'all follow me on all my different handles. I am more involved on X than the other ones, but I do have those handles. If you do happen to be on those and you want to get in contact with me, you can, but I am more involved on my X channel, so y'all take a that. And that's what I was doing. I was perusing X, and I was trying to go through some of the text. I mean, some of the questions or comments that were left on either one of those videos, and it made me go down just not a rabbit hole, but the dirt was shuffled, the dirt was moved or disturbed. I can tell that the dirt was disturbed because I started looking at different things. Now, if you know my personality, I'm not a bandwagon person. I like to see the information as it comes out to me, and I always reserve the right to be able to change my mind one way or the other, or do like I always do. I believe that everybody had a part in everything, and it's just a matter of who wants to be willing to say what part they had, when they had it, and how they had it. Now, looks like all parties have filed lawsuits, but I'm on this law talk over here on YouTube, and I follow a lot of people, and I follow them on X as well, because a lot of times if they're not on here, I'm still going to call it tweeting, y'all. They are tweeting over there on X. So as I happen to be going through this rabbit hole, because let me tell you what the rabbit hole that I was going down. Well, where the dirt was being shuffled. Let me explain. I was looking at the fact that I couldn't understand, and there's a comment that I'm going to read, and his comment was right on time, because I was like, I couldn't understand, like, who has these messages? Where did they come from? How did they do da 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 da? Because it was the text messages are what is tripping me up, right? The text messages were tripping me up. That's from me reading this last lawsuit. But when I read Justin's complaint against the New York Times, one of the things that was tripping me up about that was, why do you keep capitulating to someone if they're doing all of this stuff? Why do you keep capitulating? And everyone kept saying, well, there was a lot of money involved, and they wanted to get this project done and get this project off the ground, and all of these little different things, right? So I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. I'm not going to argue with that. So then, hold on. So then when I looked at the money and was trying to get to the money, I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you pretty much my thought process as I was going through this whole thing. Because I was under the impression that they lost a lot of money. But then I went over here to Box Office Mojo and looked up, it ends with us, right? Let me go over here real quickly. I did two things. I went to Box Office Mojo and I looked domestically. This film made $148 million. Might as well say 150. Internationally, it made $202 million, 203. You can just say that we just rounded upwards. So totally, it made about $351 million. Now, listen, and it tells you all the all the monies that was made in what countries, da 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 da. If you want to go look, this is Box Office Mojo, and where they made their money. So then I asked the question, what was the budget for this movie? And it tells me $25 million, not including print and advertising, right? So, and if you look down here, it says It Ends With Us was $25 million, and this was Wikipedia. So if the AI program says not including their prints and their advertising, I'm going to add another 10. Let's add another $5 million, and let's just round up and say, hey, they took them $30 million to make this movie, but they ended up with a net of $351 million. So my math people, tell me what that percentage is from them building up from a $25 million budget to making $350 million. Now, to me, I've always rounded it up. Shout out to B. Avery. He always rounds it up times 3. So you take $25 million times 3, and that's what you're going to need to make up your cost. So they are well beyond the $75 or $80 million to say that this movie was a success. This movie was a resounding success, regardless of the script changes and all of this other stuff. This movie was a resounding success. So I went down that little rabbit hole, and I was like, okay, so it's my first initial. And if you follow me on X, I did a tweet. I said, and I'll show it to you because I am quite transparent on the stuff that I do. And here's my tweet. Let me share this tab. So here's my tweet. And I said, I've read all 3 lawsuits, 2 on live, and I've concluded that it all boils down to money. Each party is exploiting the other's weakness to get it. And I hashtag Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Stephanie Jones. It Ends With Us. And I said, it is about to be messy. And then I put my live up there. So if anybody wanted to go back and review the live, me reading the lawsuit, then you're more than welcome to do that. But then we're still on X. Let me go to my bookmarks. I want you to, where are we? I see this tweet from All About Truth. It says, Ryan Reynolds went to TMZ tonight to clear his name in the lawsuit filed by Justin Baldoni. Justin states that he was blindsided when invited to Ryan and Blake's home and was berated by Ryan for asking how much Blake weighed. Backstory. Justin Baldoni, where are we? Asked his trainer for the movie, who was introduced to Justin by Blake, how much Blake weighed, as he was going to have to lift her for a scene. Baldoni asked as he had severe back issues, multiple bulging discs, and asked to ensure that he safely would be able to pick her up. The trainer ran back and told Blake Lively, who told her husband, Ryan Reynolds. Ryan invited Justin over and berated Justin for asking. Now, this was in the lawsuit, what they're reading. So I was like, okay, all right, let me mosey over to TMZ. So here we are, me moseying over to TMZ to see what's going on. And again, y'all bear with me. This is so impromptu that me having all my stuff up, it's not there. So it says here, uh, Ryan Reynolds never seen Scream. So this was published yesterday, January 2nd, 2025 at 5:59 p.m. It says here, Ryan Reynolds, he was never angry, but never screamed or berated, Baldoni source says. And I'll say this until after I finish. Justin Baldoni's accusations Ryan Reynolds berated and screamed at him in a house full of stars in an ambush meeting is way overblown. This, according to a source who was in the meeting. Baldoni made several accusations against Blake Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, in a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming the Deadpool star was aggressive toward JB at the meeting that took place in the couple's NYC home as celeb pals came and went. Our source, so it's only one source. If they would say sources if it was more than one person. Our source tells TMZ the meeting did go down last January, as It Ends With Us was to resume production after it was stalled by industry strikes. And everyone in attendance knew Baldoni's alleged behavior would be addressed. So there was zero blindsided, okay? The source says Ryan Reynolds was not screaming and berating JB, although the source concedes he was angry and stern, adding Reynolds spoke in an impassioned way, quote unquote, impassioned way, but it did not rise to the level of screaming or berating. Baldoni said in his lawsuit the encounter he had with Reynolds was traumatic and he had never been spoken to this way in his life. The source also took issue with the way the meeting was characterized in the lawsuit. In particular, the mention of the penthouse where the other stars were randomly milling around. The meeting was at the home of Reynolds and Lively, but our source says other celebs were not coming and going. Baldoni isn't alone in suing the Times. He is one of 10 plaintiffs, including publicists Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, who were mentioned at length in Lively's initial complaint and the paper story. Now, remember, those two are the crisis PR people that had been working with Baldoni, and they initially started working under, Jennifer Abel initially was working under Stephanie Jones, who Baldoni and the production company hired for crisis management. Okay, let's see. Lively has filed a lawsuit making a formal demand for money, suing Baldoni and others, including the publicist, for mental pain and anguish, severe emotional distress, and lost wages. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, previously lashed out at Lively's claims, saying they were designed to fix her negative reputation, adding the claims are false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt. They've reached out to Friedman for comment on the recent pushback. So far, no word. Okay. So I read that and I was like, okay, so I would expect them to be able to do their pushbacks, to do their things. So then what was nagging me was the text messages, because they're saying that they were not blindsided by this meeting. This is what the source said, that when they went to the meeting, there was nobody blindsided about this meeting, and that Ryan Reynolds was impassionate. So, one person's impassioned is another person's screaming and hollering and yelling. It depends on your relationship with the person. Because if someone was listening to me right now and my voice is elevated, some people would say, oh, well, you're being very passionate. You're being very snarky. But if you had a relationship, you would know I talk all the time. So one person's impassionate. It might be another person's, hey, they're being ugly and they're arguing at me. Okay. So then I went to, I don't know if this is going to show up. I may have to, I go down. I'm still going down this little rabbit hole. I'm still going down this rabbit hole. So then I see this by NPR. It says Blake Lively inspires more actresses to speak out against Hollywood toxicity. And basically, what this is, it goes over the allegations between that and that there are other actresses who are coming out and talking about the toxic behavior that's going on with Hollywood. And let's be clear, we do understand there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Hollywood that wouldn't fly in your home residence or anything like that. There's a lot of, to me, there's a lot of things that are loose. There are a lot of things that are loose that should be strict, and there's a lot of things that are strict that should be looser. That's just the way I feel. So I go down to here, but there was something interesting in here. It says she first leveled her civil rights complaint. And when I clicked on this hyperlink, it led me back to the website in California for the civil rights complaints. And then it talks about this Kate Beckinsale, talking on her Instagram. She has a video on her Instagram talking about the toxicity and all that other stuff. And you all are more than welcome to go there. But then it talked about, let me see if this is where it was. Because somewhere, somehow, let's see, I got to clicking. And I hit this one, and it says Blake Lively accuses It Ends With Us studio of harassment and a smear campaign. And so we understand that was the lawsuit that she filed. Went to the California Rights Department. I'm just trying to figure out where, anyway, there was a link. But anyway. No, it's not it. But anyway, so there was a link that led me, and I don't see it. I don't have it on here. Is this it? No, that's the red suit, and that's Ryan Reynolds. So let me go here because what was happening is that it would not allow for me. Let me make this bigger. So I had to copy and paste it. So hold on just one moment. So you remember when I was reading the lawsuit that Stephanie Jones had filed against Baldoni, Abel, and Nathan? And it was the question about the tweets. Where did they get the tweets and all this other stuff? And I may have to go, we won't go here first. We're going to go here. Here we go. So the Junk Farm left a comment, and it just says, LOL, just remember, if you think Blake is lying, you also have to think Jones is committing multiple felonies to forge documents for her. And then that got me thinking back to Justin's complaint to the Times. And there was a section in there, and I was confused. But after I read this particular lawsuit, I became unconfused. There was a particular point in there where they talked about a phone being confiscated, and the information off the phone was being manipulated, or they had pulled information about the phone. And so it made me question. It said, how did she get the text messages? And then something hit me, and I went to the LA Times. But the thing about the LA Times is that I was unable to I was unable to get it, so I just copied and pasted into my pages here, and then I want to show you that. Now, I wrote up under here, I know that the texts were supplied uh, by the Jones Fork PR firm to Blake Lively, according to the LA Times. That Abel woman seems to be a problem. I still believe that there has to be an underlying motive of money from all parties. I believe something happened on set. I believe both parties wanted control of the movie. And I also believe that the PR team was cutthroat. Regardless, this is going to be a messy case. Really wish it was televised. So now let's go to what the LA Times says. Now, I will tell you, it's not the article. I had to copy and paste the article so I could read it. All right. It says here, and this is the hyperlink to go see if you want to go figure this article out, but I copied and pasted. It says here, the question sending shockwaves through Hollywood. How did Blake Lively get those damaging, let me make this up. How did Blake Lively get those damaging texts? And this is on the set of It Ends With Us. It was written by Matt Hamilton on December 29, 2024. So that was just a few days ago. So the bullet points that it has is that actress Blake Lively has accused Justin Baldoni and his team of developing a campaign to smear her in the press after she reported on set as sexual harassment. A trove of text messages appears to show the team plotting to fend off any airing of Lively's grievances and preserve Baldoni's reputation. Legal experts were, and I love this word, flummoxed and impressed by how Lively managed to get hold of the text messages in the absence of a lawsuit. Because again, that was the question. How did she get these text messages? And she said that there was, they were subpoenaed. And I think someone said that they could not find the subpoena or where it was subpoenaed. So we're going to go through what they have in this article. It says, when actress Blake Lively went public this month with the explosive accusation that her It Ends With Us co-star and producer Justin Baldoni and his team developed a campaign to smear her in the press for reporting on set sexual harassment, she marshaled powerful evidence, her opponent's own words. A trove of text messages Lively submitted to California's Civil Rights Department appeared to show Baldoni, his production company, and two publicists affiliated with the company plotting social manipulation, among other tactics, to fend off any airing of Lively's grievance and preserve Baldoni's reputation. All of this will be most importantly untraceable, Melissa Nathan, one of the crisis publicists, said in a text. And it boggles my mind that they were doing all of this via text message. And it also boggles my mind that you're doing all of this. Well, anyway, it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. A trove of text messages Lively submitted. It was after that. The text messages, rife with bravado, boast, and intrigue, have fueled a scandal that has rocked the entertainment industry and spotlighted the ruthless underbelly of the Hollywood publicity scene. And that's why this has gotten me so interested, because baby, cutthroat. So regardless of how they're working for you, if they're working to keep your reputation intact, baby, they will go through hell to make sure that they get your reputation looking good. If they're trying to, whatever they're trying to do, this needs to be studied, because this has gotten me so intrigued, because like I said, when I first saw the lawsuit, that thing, I was like, okay, that's Hollywood, they're suing. But then when you start reading these text messages and seeing all the stuff that's going on, a mess. Let's see. Oh, there's some of you all in here. Let's see. We got Chammy S. Hey, she says, Team Justin. We have Aaron Lynch. In case isn't in the article, but forensic software doesn't record emojis often. I don't know if that's in the lawsuit, but we'll get to it. We'll see. And Jones had her attorney, officer of the court, seize the phone. Good move. Because they've got the physical phone. That's a great move. Good evening, Pamela. Hey, Blue. Child, I'm over here. I done fell in this rabbit hole of this Baldoni and Lively and Jones lawsuits. Baby, the thing that I'm pulling from this is that the publicity machine in Hollywood, cutthroat. So if images were altered, they still couldn't sue the Times for it because the Times just reported what was filled in Lively and Jones cases. Basically. So let's go. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, has denied the existence of a smear campaign and said that the cherry-picked correspondence showed normal internal planning for crisis scenario on a film that grossed more than $350 million. And, I just showed y'all that this film grossed a lot of money. Yes, exactly. If you are someone who and everything is a skill, don't let me deter you if this is something that you want to do, but just look at the lengths and things that you have to go to. If you know that you can find ways to do something or to pull people to control a narrative, this is something to me. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, has designed, it's 350. Friedman said that the planning came after Lively enlisted her own representative to plant negative and completely fabricate and false stories with media. Amid the damaging revelation, one question has stood out. How did Lively and her team attain the candid private chats of Baldoni's public relations team? The answer in part shows the tangled web of personalities and businesses drawn into the dispute and the confluence of legal and public relations strategies at play. Someone quote, I've never seen a case like this, says Neville Jones, the veteran entertainment litigator who has represented actors, musicians, and other artists for nearly 50 years, calling it modern warfare in law. Johnson was surprised on two fronts: the lengths to which publicists allegedly went to protect Baldoni, and that Lively's team had procured such a potent, tranche of text messages before filing their California civil rights complaint. The biggest battle we face these days is obtaining evidence from the other side. Lively's attorney have been circumspect about the provenance of the text messages. Her complaint contains a footnote stating that the messages include a 22-page compendium of texts submitted as an exhibit with the complaint, came through the legal process, including a civil subpoena. Some of the messages are redacted or have their senders and recipients' names omitted. Justin Baldoni's ex-publicist, and this is the Stephanie Jones, she's suing, and we read that today, over Blake Lively's smear campaign. But Stephanie Jones, the founder of Jones Work, the publicity firm that has represented Tom Brady, Jeff Bezos, and until recently, Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, effectively outed herself as the source of the damaging communications in the lawsuit she filed on December 24th. Because remember, and this is starting to make all this, with all these different lawsuits, this is all starting to make a little bit better sense to me. I don't proclaim to have any answers. I still stick by my messaging that a lot of this, there's an underbelly of money going into it. But as we read in the lawsuit for Stephanie Jones against Baldoni and the other two publicists, the phone, laptops, or whatever they picked up from, what's her name? Abel. They were work products of Jones Work. And so when they fired her, they took their property back. Somehow, some way, I don't know if she voluntarily gave them the information, or was this something part and parcel with the lawsuit that she filed, and they were able to get the text messages from this lawsuit that she filed. I don't know. That's the way I say that they got it. But still in all, they have the lawsuit. They have the text messages. And so when we're talking about the text messages sent between let's say when the production started up until what? Because I think she was fired in August. So all those text messages were coming off the phone of the phone that belonged to Jonesworks, because you remember in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, you remember she changed phones. She went from I can no longer talk on this phone or text on this phone. This is my new number. And you remember they redacted that number. So what I looked at it, I was like, okay, so things are starting to make a little bit more sense to me. And I won't go in, but that was the part right here that I wanted to show that this is where those text messages came from, right? Put that down. All right, so here we go. Let me see. Aaron, you're the junk farmer. You're the junk farm, aren't you? Cool beans, cool beans, cool beans. So then, like I said, I follow people on here, particularly in law places and stuff like that. And I happen to follow this lady right here, Andrea Burkhart. Now, let's go back to X. Ooh, this is so much. All right, let me share my screen. So I did show you about this, all about the truth, and we went over the TMZ information. Oh, that's not what I want. Twitter is so difficult. All right, here we go. So this is Andrea Burkhart, and she says, all right, I read the Baldoni versus NYT lawsuit. It's long, and in hindsight, I think I could have probably stopped right here where she highlighted and concluded that the lawsuit is for PR, not to win the case. As always with public figure defamation and media defendants, the issue is actual malice. And she goes on with this thread, and I'm not going to read all of her stuff. You can definitely go back through her thread. She said, despite what it sounds like, actual malice means that the publisher must have known that the claim was false and published it anyway. This is where nearly every defamation claim by a public figure against a media defendant fails. The complaint, while colorfully describing somebody doctoring and cherry picking text to include in Blake Lively's complaint, which the New York Times article primarily reported on, is a very thin on whodunits. Instead, it relies on general allegations of inadequate investigating facts. But failing to investigate doesn't establish that the New York Times knew what was published was untrue, nor does the NYT participating in a campaign to take down Baldoni establish actual malice. The press is allowed to criticize public figures harshly. That's oh, and to Pam's comment about teaching. Although they're going to teach those texts as the bad example in literary every 101 college for class years, law, business, marketing, like anyway. Those texts were atrocious. You saw me struggle to read those texts because I was like, at the least, if you're going to do that, just talk into the phone. You probably, but then again, I don't know if that's the way you do. I don't know what's going on. That's okay. But thank you so much for the comment, because that sent me so far down a rabbit hole. And I'm like, look at here. Look at here. Look at here. Now, here's the way I look at it. And I say it, and again, I will stand by the tweet that I have made. Do I believe something happened on that set? Yes. Do I believe that, because all these things can be true at the same time, at different points in things. Do I believe that Blake Lively believes that she was harassed? Yes, I believe she believes that. Do I believe that he harassed her? I believe something happened on that set that she did not like. Because you did go to that meeting and you did capitulate to these points, even though you say that you don't have any information on that. Because I could not understand why in the world would you, every time she wanted to do something, you all acquiesced to it. And that made no sense to me. And people were like, well, it's a production and they were trying to, the money and all that other stuff. Even still, because at some point, in my opinion, there should have been a buffer. There should have been someone buffering. So let me just tell you from each point of view what I don't like. What I don't like from Blake Lively's point of view is the fact that because you have filed what you filed, you did make a point to try to take over the production. That's what I don't like. I also don't like the alienation that went on. I don't like that. I don't like the fact of knowing, because like I said, regardless of what's going on, I know that your husband is a little greasy. I feel like he's a little greasy because I've heard some things that he's done in the past. I don't like to know that someone who didn't have anything to do with this production is writing scripts and stuff, and you just happily said anything about it. Okay? I don't like that. Put your you have every right to sue. Put your lawsuit in. Put your criminal complaint, your civil rights criminal, put all of that in. But that other stuff I don't like. Baldoni, if you said something or if you did something to that girl, I don't like that. I don't like it at all. And if it was something that was uncomfortable, you all sat down and you had a meeting, and that should have been discussed. Now, showing these pictures of someone giving birth or someone doing something, all of these little different things, I don't like that. Because those things could have been talked about without giving me visuals for it. And what I don't like is the fact that while all this is going on, this woman, because I asked this question when I was reading from the Baldoni report. She was pregnant. She was breastfeeding. Was there an incident of her having some postpartum issues? Because if you've known somebody who's had a baby and they're going through sometimes in that postpartum, they're very sensitive. So where you're taking something or saying something as a joke, that person wouldn't be able to do that. I don't like the fact, again, that you were acquiescing to all this other stuff. You don't acquiesce to all of these things that you say that you didn't do. That's crazy. I don't care about a production. Kendrick Lamar says respect is better. You should have had some self-respect. And also, I don't care who you are, what thing. I have issues about people going to people's houses. Because you don't run nothing in anybody's house. If you're going to have meetings like this, they need to be taking place in a neutral place. Neutral place. Now, Sony, you were there. You had a representative presented at that meeting. You were the one that was providing the majority of the money. They should have been sitting in Sony office somewhere. Heck, they could have gone to a hotel and used a conference room. But I don't like that. Blake, I don't like the fact that you went and took over that wardrobe thing. I saw the pieces that you put together. No, ma'am. And I only understood and know you because you were a fashionista from the Met Gala. But that mess that you pulled on that set, no, ma'am. Was the character supposed to dress like that? I don't know. But even still, those outfits, they were not the truth. The publicist. The Abel lady, you are a menace, a straight menace. And Jones, I'm not leaving you out because whether you want to admit it or not, you were hired by Baldoni. To do a job. And if you couldn't do the job, or if you didn't want your agency to do the job, you should have recused yourself. You're the one that owns the agency. But yet what you did to distance yourself, you let the Abel girl do it. And now we see that Abel girl was cutthroat. She was going to do this job, do the best way she knew how to do it. Did she see an opportunity? It looks like she did. But it's all about the money, because I'm quite sure if he still had been paying that $25,000, we would have heard nothing. So it was about you dealing with the Abel young lady. That's her last name, Abel. You probably gonna get what you need to get, because she did some cutthroat stuff. And then was dumb enough to put it in the text messages. She did some cutthroat stuff. Now, am I holding her strictly responsible for Blake Lively's bad press? No. I think Blake Lively did that on her own. Because that interview she did on that red carpet talking about this movie, she seemed very out of touch. Very out of touch. So she did that on her own. And to compound that, because the public doesn't forget. The people think people forget, but the public doesn't forget. So did she get some bad press? Yes, she did. But she got bad press because she did the interview. She made the statements. It's recorded on what she did. Do I think that there was a smear campaign? I don't. There was meetings about it, about what they need to do to preserve Baldoni's reputation. Because again, something happened. Now, whether you believe that that Blake Lively is a mean girl, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But one thing I will say, that someone's personality, and I want to say these words right, just because you have an awful personality doesn't mean that awful personality demands or dictates that you be harmed. Let me see what y'all are writing. Let me go back up here. It's funny how everyone is blaming Lively for a smear and not the known dragon lady with the PR company who trained Abel. That and then when stuff got too sticky icky, she gave all the evidence to Blake Lively. There'd be no way in the world that I would use her company again. No way in the world. Because I think you knew, and I'm glad I saw this comment. Thank you so much, Aaron. I am thinking that you knew that the Abel girl was cutthroat. I think you knew she was cutthroat. I think you knew. And you put her on there because you knew she was going to be cutthroat. What you're upset and pissed off about is that she broke off from you. Because she started to see that she could do her own agency and get that $25,000 in. Yes, I read that one already. Do not send texts like this. I'm old school. I don't know if you're Gen X like I'm Gen X. I need sentences. I need to be clear. And even if you're going to use contractions, they need to be agreed upon by everybody, because like I said, there's some there. I just learned that IMO was, in my opinion. I didn't know what they were talking about when they were in text. So you have to be very, you have to be very clear, in my opinion, about these texts. But again, not my generation. However, when you're conducting business, you need to be very, very clear. And you can't be in there, oh, we're going to put somebody down and call people cunts and all kinds of stuff like that. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. None. They also gave him 14 hours to comment, which was because they called him at night. Because from what I understand about the lawsuit that he has filed with New York Times, he's saying that they breached an agreement saying that they were going to give him to 12 noon. And because they filed they uploaded the article at 10, they really weren't trying to give him any time. They were just going to go on with what was said in that article. But again, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have any time because they because they sent the email. She sent that email about what it was 9 something p.m., which would have made it like anywhere from 7 or 6 o'clock p.m. in California, because that's where he's from. So he had from at least, he had enough time to be able to do that, or to ask for a correction, or he had enough time to tell them, no comment, He had enough time to say whatever. I agree with you. You are, okay, you're using contraction. What's the OTOH? If the harassment happened to most guys' wife, they'd be there watching like a hawk, an angry, angry hawk. Now, it did say she had somebody on the set, but was it Ryan? I know he went to that January 4th meeting, but was it Ryan that was on the set? Gotcha. Y'all, when I tell you I am intrigued, I am intrigued. Now, Pam Entertainment TV's personal opinion, all of them are messy. All of them got blamed in certain different areas. Absolutely, they do. Like I said before, Blake Lively, whether we like her personality or not, if she feels like she was harassed, she has a right to file a complaint. That's what California gives her the right to do. Baldoni has the right to sue if he believes that he has been maliciously defamed. Stephanie Jones has a right to sue her former employee if she feels like her former employee broke their employment agreement. But Blake Lively taking over that production, no bueno. But it made them $350 some million. But me, low key, going back underlying issues, it's all about the rights. It's all about the rights. Because if you get this lawsuit and let's say, I don't know how much money Baldoni made from this deal. I'm quite sure he made a pretty good amount. If they say that they to keep this from happening again, let's say the jury decides that they want to fine him the amount that they grossed in this movie, and he doesn't have that money because Sony took their cut and he took their cut and the taxes took their cut. The one thing that he has is valuable is the rights to the books by the Colleen lady, by the author. So he may have to give them up. I personally think that that's what's at stake because of the fact that that movie was a sleeper hit, is what they called them. They weren't expecting that movie to make as much money as it did, but it did. It reminds me of the Blair Witch Project. You remember they made that movie for like 10 million, and I think it made a good amount of money as well. But y'all, I'm gonna follow this. I'm gonna follow this because this is messy, messy, messy. Yes, she basically also confessed to computer hacking and extortion. Yes, she did. Again, I fault Jones because Jones knew what you were doing when you hired this young lady. You just didn't think that the snake was gonna bite you back. You played with this snake, and then now you upset that the snake bit you back, and now you're ready to blow up the whole garden. And you're talking about, oh, well, my reputation, baby. It's one thing. For your reputation to be hit because a former employee talks about you. But it's another thing to then take a client that you have and throw them up under the bus because you're trying to get to this employee. A mess. And that looks like, to me, from what she had put in her lawsuit, that the Abel girl was playing both sides to the middle. That seems the same thing. You're playing both sides to the middle. All right, people, I've been on here almost an hour, child. I do thank y'all for going back over. I had to come back in here because I had to go back over those text messages. Hold on just one moment. Let me pull up the text. Not finished, girl. Let me pull up the text from that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so let's pull up because I wasn't able to answer, and there was a lot of them, and I wanted to kind of go. Some of them I answered, some of I didn't. Ginny X IOMRA. I very much agree with you. I believe Baldini, but I'm also confused on why he could give in so much. Because remember, we were talking about when I read this, I couldn't understand why he was capitulating so much. The only thing I could think of is she could possibly sue him for breach of contract of something if he did not agree to all of her demands. I don't know. I wish I would have stood up to her no matter what. It was his film, so he should have managed it. And that is the truth. And as I'm reading that, and the thought that's coming to my head at this point is, you can't wear too many hats. You know what I mean? If being a producer was way too much for you, then you should have allowed someone else to produce for you. I hope that makes sense. I mean, because if you're trying to act, trying to direct, and trying to produce, even the most skilled people to do that have difficulty doing that. Thanks for reading this to us. I believe every word. Team Justin all the way. And there's a candy in here too. What's that candy up top? It says, "Hey Pam, I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembered Ryan moving and talking shady on Blade." Yes, I remember that clearly. Let me give her a heart. I remember that clearly. What I remember is this: that it almost seemed like his character or him behind the scenes was trying to make his character more than what his character was. And Wesley Snipes was a little miffed at that. Because remember, because when they did Blade, the first movie, box office hit. Blade, I think it was that the Trinity, that the one he was in? I can't remember. But it was a box office hit, and everybody was trying to glean onto this particular movie. Love the breakdown. Let's see. I've answered those. It says here, am I missing something? This is by Parfait J1K. Am I missing something? Where are Lively's official court documents? I'm overlooking. Okay, I gave you where that was. I just didn't heart it. I try to heart them as I read them, and I apologize for that. Regarding Depp and Heard, I watched the entire U.S. trial and read the U.K. trial, Depp versus the Sun. The fact that A.H. said she was beaten within the inch of her life twice, yet irrefutable objective video and photographic proof showing neither incident happened. Okay, so she's talking about Amber Heard. It says Blake Lottie says Sony and their HR intervene. Where is that documentation? And why does JB claim that never happened and there's no actual signed off receipt of said meeting and documentation? And I said cases like this are never cut and dry. I still have questions. Something sparked this, and that's what's missing. IMO. See, I learned that. That's in my opinion. I use it. Sony for me is the key, since they were paying for all of this, and I stand by that. If there was so many issues and so many problems and so many things, it looks like since Sony was the one putting most of the money, that they would have stepped up a little bit further than this. Let me see. That's the answer. Great conversation. Please. Okay. All right. So I won't go in over any more of the comments, but I do appreciate it. And I just wanted to even show that if I can't get to them all, I'm going to try to read them all and star them or anything like that if I can't answer them. And I don't know if this format works very well for me to try to answer a multitude of questions that have come at me. So y'all, again, thank you so much. Oh. Aaron, where did you get this from? Because this brings a whole. Was this in one of those lawsuits? I may have. I'll miss some things. So he didn't sign. He signed it because I know that he signed that producer credit thing. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go back and look that up. Thank you. Yeah. Something happened. Something happened. Something happened. Mm. All right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please hit that thumbs up for me because it helps them with my engagement. Y'all, tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you cannot stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye-bye. Woo, this is messy, 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 and I am here for this type of legal messiness.